We live in an era where ambition is celebrated above pretty much everything else. We're constantly bombarded by these highlight reels of the ultra successful, the innovators, the top executives, the boundary pushers who just seem to have it all figured out, right? But today, we're going to dive into something a bit darker. As we unpack this story, we're exploring the terrifying extremes of modern hustle culture. We're going to look at that exact, precise moment where relentless ambition stops being a driver for success and actually becomes a mechanism for total destruction. Because behind the veneer of absolute triumph, behind the glowing magazine covers and the surging revenue, there's a very real, very human story of a high-performing entrepreneur who literally gave everything to his vision. People always wanted his lifestyle, well, until they saw the hospital reports. We often look up at the peak of the mountain and envy the person standing up there, but we rarely see the oxygen deprivation they're suffering just to stay on top. This is an uncompromising look at a reality that the business world desperately tries to keep hidden behind closed doors. So I want you to think about this. What does true success actually look like on paper? Is it just hitting financial milestones? Total industry domination? For this executive, the pursuit of those metrics became entirely all-consuming. But every transaction in life has a cost, right? And when you're trading your fundamental well-being for professional advancement, the ultimate price of success isn't just paid in long hours or, missed vacations. It's paid with your own biology. You're literally paying with the very vessel you need to experience the success you're working so incredibly hard to build. Now, what's really fascinating when we look at this stark contrast is how we have the relatable hustle culture and the enviable lifestyle on one side. This is the narrative we're all sold. The tailored suits, the constant travel, the absolute adrenaline rush of closing a massive deal. It's intoxicating, and it's heavily validated by everyone around us. But then, you have the other side of the ledger, the sacrificed health, the internal physical collapse. While the whole world was applauding his outward achievements, his internal systems were literally screaming for relief. It's this glamorous facade masking a profound hidden suffering. But hey, this isn't just about one isolated guy making poor choices. We have to take a step back and impartially analyze the societal environment that actually creates this dynamic. Hustle culture is this modern phenomenon that deeply intertwines our self-worth with our productivity. In a lot of executive circles, sleeping less is actually worn as a badge of honor. Working through the weekend? That's expected, not an exception. We've cultivated an environment that actively pushes and honestly, subtly demands that high performers cross their own biological limits just to maintain their status. At the core of all this is what we call success obsession. It's the relentless prioritization of professional achievement over mental and physical well-being. It's this toxic mindset that normalizes making severe, damaging sacrifices all for the sake of career advancement. And when obsession takes the wheel, the rational mind just loses its voice. You stop seeing a skipped meal or a sleepless night as a warning sign, and instead, you kind of view it as a necessary down payment on your future goals. This explains exactly how a highly intelligent, super capable entrepreneur can logically rationalize their own self-destruction. To really grasp the scale of this obsession, we gotta look at the daily reality. 18 hours a day. When you're dedicating 18 hours entirely to high-stakes professional execution, you're essentially living a purely mechanical existence. There is no time for recovery. There is zero time for mental decompression. There's barely enough time for the absolute minimum amount of sleep required just to keep your heart beating. 18. Think about that. Wake up, check emails, strategy, high-stakes meetings, pitching, putting out fires, managing crises, skipping lunch, grabbing caffeine, pushing through the fatigue, ignoring the headaches, ignoring the total exhaustion. Day after day, week after week, month after relentless month. The sheer volume of this grind is staggering. It's a fast-paced, unending avalanche of pressure where the accelerator is literally pinned to the floorboards and the brakes have been completely ripped out of the vehicle. And then, the engine simply gives out. The craziest part? He was only 32. 32 years old. He wasn't at the tail end of a long, stressful career. He was at the absolute dawn of his prime. At an age where most people are just starting to figure out their long-term trajectory, his body made the unilateral decision to just shut down entirely. All of those 18-hour days compounded, collecting this massive physiological debt that finally came completely due, devastating before his career had even truly peaked. The human body is amazingly resilient. It'll compensate for your neglect for as long as it possibly can. But it definitely has limits. And when those limits are breached over and over again, the failure isn't graceful, it is catastrophic. The intense work habits, the success obsession, the hustle culture, the whole shebang, they all culminated in a hospital bed, instantly neutralizing every single professional advantage he had ever worked so incredibly hard to gain. This dark side of hustle triggers a cascading failure in the body. We're talking about chronically elevated cortisol levels leading directly to cognitive burnout, burdening the mind with an absolutely impossible standard until, eventually, the nervous system itself just fails to function under the weight of an unsustainable reality. So to put that into perspective, this isn't just feeling a bit tired on a Friday afternoon. This is the undeniable biological reality of a burnout-induced breakdown. So what does this all mean for us? Well, this story serves as a pretty stark mirror. Maintaining equilibrium isn't just some luxury for the unambitious. It is a biological and strategic necessity for long-term survival. If you're a driven learner, if you're someone who pushes to achieve, you absolutely must understand that protecting your physical and mental foundation is the most critical business asset you possess. Without balance, your trajectory is going to end. It's just a matter of when.
So as we wrap up this analysis, I want to leave you with one single clarifying question to chew on. Is your pursuit of success costing you your health? Really, honestly evaluate your own daily habits, your own hours, and your physical baseline. Are you building a sustainable empire, or are you quietly writing the hospital reports of your own future? Take a moment to think deeply about what you're sacrificing today, and ask yourself if the ultimate price of that success is one you're absolutely, truly willing to pay.